Okay, well, welcome everyone to today's LinkedIn webinar. My name is Michelle Rapp from the Office of Alumni Relations. I'm the Associate Director of Alumni Career Strategy, and our goal is to provide you with relevant career programs and services, as well as other types of events, and especially to meet your needs during this difficult time. I'm so glad you're taking some time to learn more about LinkedIn. It's an incredible tool. And I find there's always more to keep learning because it keeps changing. And Sabrina Woods is a true expert in this area. So I think we will all be learning new things. Just a few housekeeping things to let you know. So participation, there will be times to take some polls, to ask some questions. The questions will happen through the chat, and that is on the lower menu in Zoom. It's the chat bubble that you can participate in. We like to keep records on attendance, so if you are joining just with your first name, please in the chat, either privately or publicly, let us know your last name or just add your name with a last initial. Also, we're just asking people if you could turn off your video camera too for this. So I want to let you know about Sabrina. Sabrina Woods is a holistic career coach and LinkedIn trainer with 20 years of experience in the career services fields in universities, including Harvard, Northeastern, and the University of London. Some of you may have worked with Sabrina during her 16 years working in the Career Center at Northeastern. Sabrina's joy comes from tapping holistic practices while working with individuals who are going through career transitions. Sabrina facilitates workshops and train-the-trainer sessions on topics ranging from mindfulness to networking. She's also taught in the US, UK, and Middle East. And she's president of the Career Counselors Consortium, a professional association of career coaches in New England. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Sabrina.
Michelle, thank you so much. Doing this session, and this is the second time I've done this in the last couple of years, is such a treat because I'm an alum. I'm not only an alum, but I, like Michelle mentioned, is that I worked in the Career Center for 15 or 16 years. So I'm really honored and tickled to be with you today. I am going to take you through this 1 hour session, but at the end, I'm going to step back into just the role of an alum. And if anyone wants to do some breakout rooms where we have a few, have a little conversation in breakout rooms, you'll be welcome to do that at the end. So we won't be doing breakout rooms during because we've got so much content to cover, but we will be taking questions. And I'll also invite you to connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you don't get your question answered, then send it to me on LinkedIn itself and I will answer it for you or do my best. And you have resources through the Career Center. The regular Career Center has a career studio, and then Michelle is also available as a resource. So I got lots of resources at Northeastern. All right, let me jump into PowerPoint, but we're going to be, hang on one second here. Helps if I go to screen share first. So hang on. There we go. We're going to be in PowerPoint, but we're going to bounce back and forth between that presentation and dialogue and polls and LinkedIn itself. Let me share with you a little bit about what we're actually going to cover today. I am also, one thing I need to tell you real quick about Zoom is when we do start doing the chat, I have a special way I deal with it because I don't like the pop-up. So I open up chat big and then I drag it and I bring it all the way down to the lower part of my screen. So you might decide you want to do that if it's distracting. So again, I open up chat all the way, and then I take the top of it and I drag it all the way to the bottom, and I have it on the bottom of my screen. You might want to join me in doing that because we really want to encourage questions, but the pop-ups I know can become annoying. All right, so with that said, I want to answer the question or talk about why bother. So how and why LinkedIn can be valuable. I want to spend part of the session talking about your profile, specifically your headline, your about summary, and your featured content. Then we're going to shift and we're going to talk more about the networking aspects, about building those career connections, about informational interviews, and how can you strategically grow your presence on this using this tool. But I think stories are a really great way for us to bring LinkedIn to life. So let me first tell you about Kian. I met her when I was doing a LinkedIn session for postdoctoral fellows at Harvard Medical School. She sent me this cool message afterwards and told me that she landed a job at Sanofi, and she thinks her LinkedIn profile helped her land it. So what happened was she actually used her LinkedIn profile to apply for the job. Have you seen that on some employers? Well, I think it's going to continue to rise, where there's going to be a little button that says apply with your LinkedIn profile. Your profile can be so much more robust than a regular resume. So this is what one of the advantages of using LinkedIn, and having a strong presence and having a good profile can help you. Let me tell you another story. I was doing a LinkedIn workshop at Brandeis for graduate students, and Ranjith sent me this message. He said he landed a job and he thinks my valuable help in helping with the professional profile contributed to him getting the offer. And I had to write back and say, oh my gosh, tell me more. Here's what he wrote regarding how it might have helped. After he put up his profile, he could see more action from people in the biotech industry. Now I need to back up and I want to say, Ranjith's profile headline used to say graduate student, Brandeis University. After the workshop, he changed it to what you can see here: research scientist, molecular geneticist, molecular biologist, genome engineer, and science instructor. So much more powerful. Part 2. He also felt added confidence when interacting with people because of the time he spent on his LinkedIn profile. So my thought here is this isn't just about LinkedIn, today's session. It's about spending time thinking about who you want to be and how you want to present that. And it will come out in LinkedIn, but it'll also come out in your cover letters. It'll come out in your networking conversations. It'll come out in your interviews. So the time you invest in really thinking about who am I, what do I have to offer, and how do I want to communicate that? Think of LinkedIn as only one avenue in which that information can be displayed. So it's worth the time and the energy to do this. One more story. I love the networking and collaboration that comes out of this. I think it was 2 years ago, a woman named Leanne Hambley sent me a LinkedIn request from the UK. I looked at her profile and I was like, whoa, she's incredible. I want to talk to her. So I sent her a message and said, can we chat on Skype? That was 2 years ago. Since then, I sat in on one of her in-person sessions in the UK. She sat in on one of my trainings in London, actually about LinkedIn, ironically. Trained the trainer for LinkedIn career advisors in London. And I invited her to be a keynote speaker and to run a training for my professional body called the Career Counselors Consortium. She said yes. Prior to the pandemic, she was going to fly into Boston and speak. She's now going to still speak, but it'll be at our virtual conference. How cool is that, that I landed an international keynote for a regional conference? This is the power of LinkedIn. This is the collaboration across the globe that can take place. If I had more time, I would tell you story after story after story, because I've had such dynamic experiences of sharing with people and collaborating and helping and being helped on LinkedIn. But let's get more into the content itself, leading with our headline. We're going to pop up a poll here in just a second. What I want to know is, have you edited your headline, the content that falls right underneath your name? So, quick question. So Michelle's going to pop this up. It's just a quick yes, no. If you haven't edited the headline, it will come up as your most recent or current job. Fun to see these popping in. I love it. Now let Michelle talk about this after we get your feedback. I want to tell you a quick tip. When you're editing your headline, if you do it on desktop, you get 120 characters. If you do it on the mobile app, you get more. What that exact number is of characters, I'm not sure, but it might be like 160. Mine is pretty long, and it's because I edited it on the mobile app. All right, back to you, Michelle.
And we have 53% said yes.
So we've got room. Can everybody see that? All right. So I'm going to take that down now. Let's talk about some examples for those of you that haven't customized it. If I were your teacher, professor, this would be one of your homework assignments, by the way, would be to go in and customize it. Let's look at a couple of quick examples, and there's more on your handout. Supply chain manager, logistics analyst, identifying underperforming areas in the supply chain and finding resolutions. So what's my role and how do I have impact? I love this one. Higher ed professional, effervescently introverted. I got that from somebody during a webinar, a workshop that I was teaching, focused on diversity and inclusion. Effervescently introverted. Isn't that fun? Maybe you want to talk about where you're headed next and position yourself for that. Software engineer, Java, C, C++, blogger about mobile apps, and future Android developer. Where are you headed? Why don't you get it right in your headline? Especially if you're a career transition. One more for fun. You can have fun on LinkedIn, actually. You can show some personality. Purple Skittle and a pack of M&Ms. Event management and digital marketing, USA and India. Adventurous and kind-hearted. Lots of leeway here. So, after we talk a little bit about the about summary, my hope is that you're going to think about that about summary section and that headline and how they can support each other and position you for what's next. So let's talk next, though, about your story. And let's find out how many of you have put some kind of content in the about summary section, which goes right underneath that top bar, that top component. So quick poll we'll poke up there, put up there, and Michelle will help us with this. Do you have an about summary section? It used to be called summary and now it's called the about section. So that's why I'm using the double name, just so that in case there's any confusion about that. All right. Have you added any content? Maybe you've added a little. Maybe you've really worked on it and it's in good shape. Maybe you haven't touched it yet. This will help us take the pulse of where you're at. And if I were able to give you a homework assignment, this is what it would be. Have at least 3 sentences or 1 sentence and 3 bullets in 1 week. Then you can always go back and edit it and massage it and make it perfect. But if you're like me and so many other people, we postpone it until we have time to really work on it. Well, no, I'd really rather see you get some of those important keywords in there and give yourself a 1 week deadline. 1 week, 3 sentences, or 1 sentence and 3 bullets. All right.
Okay, we have 21% saying no, 61 saying yes, but might need work, and 18% say it's in good shape.
Hey, this isn't too bad. We've actually got a better result here than we do with the headline. So you have been paying attention to that section. This is great. So let's actually take a moment. Let me get back on here. I want to invite you to do a short reflection exercise with me. And I would love to have you grab a pen and paper. I'm going to give us a pause while you can do that. I say pen and paper because I think there's something different about writing than about typing in a Word document. So again, see if you can go grab a scrap piece of paper. I know we barely use pens anymore. Everything's on our phone or our laptop. So let's see if we can grab pen and paper and then settle back in. And I'm going to invite us to take a couple of deep breaths and do a little reflection and writing. Weird, I know, in a webinar, but I really want to make this useful to you personally. I'm going to invite you to think about where you want your path to take you. And now there's another part to this. Here's an interesting concept. What if you thought about your best possible future self? Best possible future self. It's so interesting. What could I do in my future that would bring out my best possible future self? So that's the question for you. Now, we're going to start with a couple deep breaths. And what I'm going to invite you to do is put both feet squarely on the ground. Sit up a little bit in your chair. Allow your back to be upright so that we can take, and our shoulders not tight, but relaxed, but upright. So once you find that posture, I'm going to guide you in a 4-count inhale. This is just to give us a little room to think about this question more deeply. So a 4-count inhale, a 4-count hold, pause, and a 4-count exhale. Really simple. I'm a mindfulness advocate, so I love these deep breaths to give us room for reflection. Okay, here we go. Deep inhale. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale. Another deep breath in. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1, and slow exhale. Last deep breath in. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale. Then a couple of regular deep breaths at any pace. Just settling in for a moment. Giving yourself a pause. Saying it's okay to have a little break. The deeper question I want to ask is, a few years from now, what are you doing? If it's your best possible future self and you let go of barriers and you let go of the huge challenges we have in our world today, you might ask yourself, what skills are you using as that best possible future self? If you can't come up with a job title, how might your coworkers describe you? How are you making an impact? Could be another question. Without barriers, without being afraid, without constricting yourself, imagining your best possible future self, and letting this be a brainstorm exercise for any words that come to mind. And be quiet for another moment or two, giving you space. If some words are resonating and you feel comfortable, I'll invite you to add them into the chat box, making a comment about how you want to.
Sabrina, I accidentally just muted you. I apologize.
No worries, I'm back.
All right.
So take a moment if you wish, if there's any keywords that you want to share about what you might be doing a few years from now, a skill you might be using, an adjective that you hope describes you, a job title you'd love to be in, any aspiration that you feel comfortable sharing with your fellow alumni in this session. There's something powerful about typing in and claiming something. I'll say one of mine is, I want to bring more resilience and mindfulness to a variety of environments. And I want to contribute more to ending inequalities, more social justice, more racial justice. Those are a couple things that are just bubbling up for me right now. Resilience and social justice would be some keywords that just are on my mind. So feel free to add into chat any words that come to mind, and then we can see.
You have an impactful difference, impacting underprivileged youth, inspiring others, human rights lawyer, environmental law and policy, agile marketer, modern marketer, digital activist, lead people during crisis, diversity inclusion, someone who's retired, cruising my 72 Chevelle and traveling, positively supporting people, learning and expanding leadership skills, healing through psychedelic therapy, training and teaching others to be their best self, cybersecurity policymaker, and making a difference for youth or animals, creating tech solutions for humankind. And I think
awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
I missed one there.
Thank you so much for voicing these, and makes me proud of my community to see what you're up to and what your aspirations are. The reason I do this reflection exercise isn't just to force a little mindfulness on you, even though I love it. It's to say we can use this about summary section and other parts of our LinkedIn profile to position ourselves for what's next. But if you don't stop and think about who you want to be and how you want to be, then how can you set yourself up for what's next? You know, it used to be called summary, but I don't think summary is the right word. I think it needs to be, where do I want to be? Or what do I want to put out there into the world? It's to draw the kinds of people and the kinds of opportunities that are going to help me grow and add value in the ways that I want to grow and add value. So I like the LinkedIn profile about section to be aspirational. All right. Now, let's look at a couple so that you get a little sense. And there's loads of this stuff on my website, sabrina-woods.com/LinkedIn. Here's Lisi, one of my clients that I have worked with and am working with. She wrote an opening statement. While I work in the world of numbers, translating data into financial insights, I never lose sight of an organization's mission and the people that the financials impact and serve. So you can have an opening statement, and then for her, she goes in and she talks about values and personality. I've been recognized for my financial and business acumen, but also for how I lead, who I am, and what I value. With unquestioned integrity, a strong commitment to people, I lead with both my head and my heart. She closes her LinkedIn profile with the concrete skills, the financial knowledge and ops, relationship team and trust builder, collaborative leadership, executing for results. So this is just one example of a summary style where you can have both the hard skills and the values and the personality all integrated. So I want to say actually, let me pause for a second and just check in with Michelle to see if there's been any questions, especially about headline or profile summary, that have popped up in the Q&A before I move on. Oh, or any question for that matter, I'm happy to answer at this time.
Yeah, feel free to add any questions into the chat.
Okay. I guess we hadn't even thrown that out there. So I know I've been asking specifics, but yeah, throw in questions anytime. But I want to, before I go to LinkedIn itself, I want to talk about one other section where you can show off your values and your personality and your skills, and that is the featured content section. So I shared one of my colleagues' posts a few days ago that focused on Black Lives Matter. And so once you've shared a post, you can then have it be a feature. So I love this. When people land on my profile, they see what initiatives I support. They can also see my website, and they can see these other featured content. Here are other posts that I added to featured so that people can get a flavor of me if they're considering working with me as a coach or want to reach out to me as a collaborator. So I'll say a little bit more about featured content when we get into LinkedIn, and we're going to go there now. What I'll say, just so people know, is when you go to sabrina-woods.com and click on LinkedIn, you will see some, sorry about that, some resources. The handout that Michelle included when she emailed you is this one. I have on my to-do list this afternoon to update this to reflect the one version you have. Just been behind a little bit, but this is where you can come, and every time LinkedIn changes things, I update that handout. If you'd like to see some sample profile summaries, including the one from Lisi, you can jump into here. If you're like me and you love HGTV home makeovers, maybe you like LinkedIn makeovers. For fun, I have profile makeovers for scientists in here as well. I know I work with a bunch of scientists and postdoctoral fellows, so I've got a lot of examples from them. All right, let me go back over here. What I want to do now is call out from the handout a couple of sections. If you have the handout or you want to open it into another tab, I am going to go into, I'm going to move around my screen here a little bit. Give me a second. Go into the Me section to view profile. That's where I'm going right now. And I want to say something about the headline. You use the blue pencil here to edit. Again, if you do it on the mobile app, it can be longer. This is where you can choose your keywords that are most important to you. And if you like the symbols, come and grab them from different people's profiles. You can do Control-C and Control-V, cut paste, and bring them in from my profile or anyone else's. Then the other thing is, let's see here. I'm going to do this. It's a little bit out of order. Oops, that's not where I wanted to go. But I want to talk about that featured content, which is your bullet number 9 on the handout. Here's a tricky thing about this. One tricky thing is you won't be able to add featured content until you've posted something on your home page. I'm going to say that again. Until you've posted, and I hope they change this, until you've posted something on your home page, start a post, type something in. Once you share something on your home page, it will then allow you to add anything in your featured content. So you could put a PowerPoint slide, a single PowerPoint slide about some volunteering that you've been doing. And then that'll give you access to add that to featured content and add anything else you want there. So let me go back to that, featured content. There's a lot of different things you could choose. It could be a guest blog post. It could be a PowerPoint slide about an initiative that you've done. It could be, if you're a workshop facilitator or webinar host, you could click and share some information about that. You can share a simple PDF of a Word document. So you can go in and look at some of mine to be able to get some ideas about posts. When you use this section, one thing I encourage you to do is say that, actually, what's the best way? See y'all. Use the first little bit to describe what media it is. This is just a post. I guess I should actually edit that, but website, all in caps. Conference co-chair, all in caps. Workshop, blog. If you do all caps, the person will know what the media is. And so again, feel free to look at mine to get some inspiration about, well, what can I add? And if you're like taking a certification right now, you could create a PowerPoint slide that describes some of the benefits of what you've learned from that certification, and boom, put that up. There's a lot of flexibility on what you can use with featured content. And once you start adding to your homepage, if you're not already, then you can highlight something that you've shared in your LinkedIn community. All right, I'll have Michelle interrupt me if there's any questions on featured content, and otherwise I'm going to keep going. Michelle, how are we doing?
Other types of questions are coming, so why don't you cover some more things and then we'll come back to these. Yes.
Okay, here's what I'm jumping to. I'm going to go to number 5 on the handout. It's sections. I'm going to crawl back up here. See this blue bar, add profile section. This gives you the ability to super customize your LinkedIn profile. So my favorites, some of my favorites are under accomplishments. But, oh, I like volunteer work. I like projects, patents, if you have them, that's fantastic. I like languages. So check this out. Make this one of your assignments to go in here and say, which of these sections do I want to add to? If you've never used the skills section, this is where you build your skills section right in here. And that's the one I'm going to go to next, which is number 7 on your handout. We're going to scroll all the way down. I know the long scroll is annoying. Bear with me. Super hard to read when you're scrolling, but here we are. This is skills and endorsements. What I want you to do is I want you to think about the 3 most important skills that will set you up for your future career path, future job, future industry. So think proactively about what's valued and where you want to go next. What's most important to you to be represented. So career counseling, mindfulness practices, and public speaking are my top 3. Don't worry about endorsements. Oh my gosh, it's just gamification of LinkedIn. But do think about recommendations, which is right underneath here. I'm making a dip down below, and then I'll come back up. Consider getting 2 or 3. If you have several, one savvy tip is print out those recommendations when you're going to an interview, and at the end of the interview, leave it with the hiring manager and say, these are some recommendations from colleagues and others that I've worked with. I thought I'd leave you a hard copy, but you can see the live copy on my LinkedIn profile. That's powerful. Those are references for you, essentially. Back to skills for just a second. If you're adding a new one, boom, type it right into this box. You can create your own. You don't have to, like I can say interviewing, I can say interviewing prep, or I can say interviewing prep with international students. I've done a lot of in the past. So drop down menu or create your own. All right, let me X that out. One more thing to say about the skills, and then we'll take some questions. And that is, it's the blue pencil to allow you to move things around. This is how I positioned my top 3. I clicked and I dragged. All right, so recap, don't worry about the endorsements. Pay attention to your top 3. And, oh, one more tip. Look at other people's skills sections who you aspire to be in their role and see what they have listed as their skills, and see if you have those skills yourself, and then add them into your profile. When it comes, one last point, when it comes to the most important parts on LinkedIn as far as search go, to show up in a recruiter or a hiring manager's search, from everything I've read, the 4 most important places are your headline, your summary section, about section, your skills section, and your job titles. I'm going to say those again. The 4 most important places. So if I'm a supply chain professional, I want to look at what are the most important supply chain words, and then I want to see where I can position them. Again, it's the headline, about section, job titles, and skills section. When it comes to job titles, if you've got a fun one because you worked in a startup like Innovation Guru, go upright slash mark kind of thing, and then say R&D director, because Innovation Guru might not be put into a search. All right, so that's just one other little thing. Make sure your job titles are clear about the function. If you are an associate director, add a dash and list the department. Otherwise, it loses value. I would put associate director when I was at Northeastern, dash career services or career development. All right, I'm going to take a quick pause, come back to Michelle, and see if we've got some questions, because I'm going to go back in. I think I covered everything for profile. I'm going to go back into PowerPoint and then show you some more things on LinkedIn after that. So, Michelle, how are we doing?
Sabrina, we do have some questions about the headline. Like yours has those key areas. Some people are asking, should it be your current job? And what if you're unemployed? Is it okay to say seeking opportunities? Things like that.
The place, I'll start with seeking opportunities. The place where I would put seeking opportunities is in the about section. I'd use the headline to show your value. So I want you to think, you can say, you know, communications professional. You know what, actually, do I have, all right, let me take a quick side trip, because I think I put this on here. Bear with me a second, guys. I'm going to open the LinkedIn for job search. This version is a little longer than your handout. And if I remember correctly, because I did this a while ago, I think I've got some sample headlines down there besides the ones on your handout. Hang on a sec. Google Doc doesn't want to scroll properly in this moment. Okay, I do. I have ones for students on here. Maybe those are it. I thought I had additional ones. Okay, I just have the student ones. If you are interested in additional job title ideas for the, not job title, headlines, shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I've been collecting them and I've got a long handout on it. So shoot me that and I'll help. But think about the keywords that are most important in the job postings. Whatever you possess, put them in. So it could be skills-based, it can be the profession you're in general. It can be interests. There's a lot of flexibility. So use those 120 to 160 characters to share value rather than to say you're seeking. Did that answer that question, or was there another part to it, Michelle? I'm gonna make sure
I think that's good. And what's the best way to showcase a webinar you've presented or an award you've received?
Best place to showcase. So awards can go in the awards section here. You can put something, depending on its weight, you can put it in multiple places. So here you have accomplishments, and specifically, here it is, honors and awards. I'd put it there. If it's pretty significant for your industry, etc., I would put it in the about section. Incredibly honored to have been the recipient of ... Okay, and if you want, you can put it also in featured content, which is, again, this section right here. So you could have it in more than one place. You could just put it right in here. So conference co-chair, this could say award recipient, colon, in all cap, and then the name of the award, and then a visual of the award. You can take a picture of it, or the take the logo of the company that gave it to you, put it on a PowerPoint slide with color, because color grabs us, color backdrop, and then put in a little blurb about being the recipient. All right, any more questions that are popping up before I switch back over?
And you were just in that previous section because there was a question about adding a list of courses recently completed online, although they don't bring a certification or license.
Yeah, oh, so where to put it was the question? Mm-hmm. Where to put it, there's a courses section right here. I wouldn't add every course. think about highlighting 3 to 5 maybe that are the most relevant. If they're helping you with a career transition, I'd encourage you to also put it in your summary section, the about section. Let me just open this up and give you this a little bit more. I would consider putting it, you know, completed courses in sustainability, including the following, and then list the name of the courses there. If you're making a transition, say, to sustainability, then you get all those keywords from the courses right in the about summary section. All right. And we move on, or are there more?
I'll just let you know what we have here, just questions about LinkedIn, whether you should get LinkedIn Premium, and also for those switching careers, you know, tips about should you focus on transferable skills on your LinkedIn or something else.
Transferable skills, analyzing what does that new career need. Really, you can do a Wordle to even like drop in a bunch of job descriptions and see from a Wordle. Do you guys know what I mean when I say Wordle? A word aggregate kind of thing will allow you to see what's the themes from like 5 job postings for that new thing you're going for, and then do I have any of those, and are they embedded in multiple parts within my LinkedIn profile? Is a really strategic way to do it. And Michelle, can you bring me back to asking the premium question in a few minutes, because I've got other stuff. I'm going to come back to it, but I want to make sure that I get to. The short answer is going to be, as a job seeker, I don't bother. I'm going to show you workarounds. So I want to show you the workarounds and then talk about it. So don't let me forget though. Okay. Here we go. I'm a big advocate for connecting with everyone. Your cousin might not, you might be an architect and your cousin is, he's a nurse. And so you might say, oh, this is no use. Your cousin who's a nurse might have connections who are civil engineers, and that's great for a civil engineer to know an architect if you're working in that kind of space. So think broadly about who you say yes to. When you send those invitations, I'm big on saying the person's name, a little message, and a thank you. Here's an example from Joanna. I'd never met her before. What do you guys think of this message? Hi, Sabrina. I always enjoy connecting with people who are experts in their industry, especially those in New England. I look forward to being able to share value with you. Love this. And I asked her permission to be able to show it off. This is a great example of something that's respectful. It could also be, you could even take it a step further. I read your blog post about da 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 da. I really liked what you shared and wanted to connect with you so I can continue to learn from you. That's another really, how can I honor the person when I send them this invite is a nice way to think of it. So building our network, you might think about, you're trying to do some more networking for your job search, or you just want to build your network. You might come across somebody who's a second level connection. Well, you could reach out to your first level connection and ask them to connect you, or ask if you could get their contact information and mention their name. We'll talk more about this as we talk about informational interviews, but I want to shift also to the topic of updates on our homepage. And I'm really curious who's updating things on their homepage. So this is adding content, or maybe just likes and comments are good, but the poll question I'm going to ask is, have you actively gone in and added an update on your homepage? If you're doing it, you know what I'm talking about. Let's put this poll up to take a quick pulse. And while that's going on, while Michelle puts the poll up, I'm going to ask Katie, it's going to be multi-fold here. I'm going to ask Katie if she'll put up a poll that I posted on LinkedIn, because this can start to give you some engagement right now while we're waiting. So, or maybe that's too many things going on at once for us, but in a moment I can have, yeah, we'll wait till the poll closes. Okay, 82% so far are not posting. All right, this is super relevant to our group then. Michelle, what do you think?
82% not posting. 17% once or twice a month, 1% at least once or twice a week, and 0 on the daily.
All right, this is a really hot topic for this group then. Okay, Katie, I'm gonna have you put into the chat box a poll, because it's confusing. We're just talking, we just did a poll, now I wanna do a poll on LinkedIn, but here's what I want us to do. Let's see here. Yeah, let me escape out of this and go, whoops. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get out of this to go back to LinkedIn for a second. Do we have that up in chat right now? The poll?
Yes.
Okay,
it's
great.
The most recent post. Yep.
Great. So if you could all click on that, I'm giving you an invitation to try an activity on LinkedIn if you feel comfortable. You skip this if it does not feel comfortable. What it is a poll. I'm trying to get to it live. Oh, I should just go down here to the comments section. Okay, let me just grab this. I'm trying to do too many things at once, but let me just pop this in and it'll go right to it. So you can see a visual on my screen of what I'm talking about. I've been waiting for polls to come to me. When LinkedIn rolls things out, sometimes it takes a little while. I got it yesterday and I shared this yesterday. I'm still learning how these work because it's so brand new to me. But what you can see on here is, let me scroll down a little bit. A live poll. If you're a job seeker, what's your attitude or approach to the job search? I'm all in, I'm going for it, or some networking and applications, just casual, or I put it on hold. I was curious how many people were feeling in the current climate they needed to stop, and how many people were all in. And I'm encouraging the all in. I'm encouraging you to stay with this, with your job searches, if you're in a job search. So I'm hoping people were able to, you're seeing the results rather than the actual poll. It's going to look a little different when you go to it live. This is just one way, one example of engagement. And I'm going to go to my home page and show some more, but I want you to see how you do it. All you have to do is hit start a post. And then I can type a single message, or I can go find something like on my own web page. I could even just share my resources about LinkedIn. To do that, all I have to do is drop in a URL. Once it populates, then I can take this away and I can say, I've been teaching LinkedIn workshops, webinars, webinars lately, and here are some of the resources I share with others. Now you can also do a hashtag LinkedIn, and I can also do an @sign. Thanks again at Michelle Rapp. Once her name pops up, I click it, or inviting me to speak with my fellow NU alumni. Okay, post. If I make a mistake, I do something wrong, these 3 dots right here will allow me to edit this post. Brings me right back. So this can take away that fear about messing up. And you can let me just go back out. And you can delete it too. So again, this is where you can edit the post or delete it. You can also copy the link, share it with a friend and say, hey, will you add on some feedback so I get some back and forth? Let me just see if anybody has questions specifically about this, and then I'm going to give you some examples, and then we're going to pop over to some other topics, as I know I'm actually, I spent extra time on this because I wanted you to see it and know how to do it. Anything popping up, Michelle, on that?
I think we're okay for now. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples. I gave a shout out to Kathy Robinson about a good article she wrote about remote jobs. I made a simple statement. Looking for a job, trying to network more. Shift gears and think about how you can help or add value for others. Being of service is an amazing way to authentically grow your network. I don't know much science, let alone 3-photon imaging of mouse brain structures, but I just use this as an example because Medi's post got all these replies. I mean, 30 likes and 3 comments at the time that I grabbed this. So I'm trying to demonstrate that it's not just business, it's all different areas that are doing posting. Now, let's take this up a notch. And let me share a quick story with you. Jim Peacock posted that Byron Clark was had created a really good list of the best remote job boards. I wrote, thank you, Jim and Byron. I've been collecting resources and really appreciated this. So I did the share button and that was what I added. Later that day, Byron actually sent me a LinkedIn request to connect. He's one of LinkedIn's top voices. I was super honored that somebody like him reached out to me. So this is interesting. You can promote other people's work and it might give you a chance to also connect with them. All right, one more thing about this. I'm really giving you some very advanced things here, but you can listen to this recording again. When it comes to featured content that I talked about earlier, here's an idea for you. Maybe there's someone you'd love to connect with. How about step 1, review their featured content. Comment on one of their posts and include something like that you enjoyed or you agree with and ask them a question. Maybe have some back and forth with them on some of their own content before asking them if you can connect with them on LinkedIn. What a nice way to become known to them and to honor their work. This goes for working off your homepage as well. The same idea. You see something pop up on your homepage from a second level connection? Why don't you comment on it and ask a question? All right, I blasted you with a lot of stuff and I'm gonna go through a couple slides on the faster side because I wanna get back into LinkedIn to show off how you can reach people for something like informational interviews. So this addresses the should I go premium question. If you belong to groups, you have the opportunity to message 15 people per month that you're not connected to, except for you're connected in the group. Let me say that again. You have the opportunity right now, 15 per month messages can go to people you're not connected to, except for the fact that you share a group. It's not per group, it's just in total. So I think using LinkedIn to find people for informational interviews and messaging them through groups is a great approach. I'm gonna ping Michelle to ask, can you give me the 30-second soundbite about what the heck is an informational interview? Can I put you on the spot for that?
Absolutely.
All the time. Thank you.
Informational interviews are great. They're really another form of networking, but you are reaching out to people for career advice and information. You're not reaching out to them to ask them for a job, but it can be a way in to meeting people at a company and making contacts in your field. So you want to ask them about how they got there, what they like, what they don't like, what advice they would have for you trying to get into a certain company or into a certain profession. They are really helpful, and you can give people a time frame like 20 or 30 minutes and let them know why you want to speak with them.
Perfect. I didn't even tell Michelle I was going to ask her to do that. Thank you for letting me bug you in the middle of this. I really appreciate it. So I talk about the same thing she said. It's asking for advice and insights. My colleague, Andrea St. Cloud, gave me this cool concept, micro ask, something specific and short. might be another way to do it. Something narrow, like I'm considering doing the same certification you did, or I'm trying to compare startups to small businesses, pros and cons of each, and I see you've worked in both. These smaller, specific, more narrow asks, the little amount of time, maybe more people say yes to. Just a thought. Now, in a minute, we're going to talk about how you find people on LinkedIn and use that group approach. One more slide about informational interviews. It can be to prepare for a career or career change, trends in your industry, and company culture. Those are a couple of my favorites. All right, back we go. And what I'm going to show you is described on your handout on page 2, halfway down. I guess the first thing I have to say is you need to get into groups. I'm going to assume many of you are in groups. So I can type in sustainability, for example, sustain AB, and hit return. If I don't select any drop-down menus, I go to the More key to find groups. I don't know how many people ever go beyond these little tabs. There's so many layers to LinkedIn, it's a little daunting. And my More button doesn't want to work right now. Come on. There it goes. Okay, so I hit that, and now I can see sustainability-related groups. That's part 1. So you can join the Northeastern one. You definitely should. And then industry ones, and then interests. I belong to a Myers-Briggs group and holistic coaching group, things like that. Part 2. Here we go. Let's say I wanted to do a micro ask info interview with a fellow trainer. I currently live in Providence, Rhode Island, and I'm going to walk you through how I would do this. I'm going to type the word trainer in, and I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to get a lot. First button I'm going to hit is people, because I want people, not jobs or groups or all that stuff. 5 million. Okay. Now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go to the All Filters button here. I'm going to start with geography. I'm going to add in the locations box, Providence, Rhode Island. I want you to see there's lots and lots of different things you can choose from. You could pick a specific industry, a specific company. You can even choose a very specific job title all the way down here. If you haven't played in the All Filters section yet, look this over. It's a fantastic resource for your research and you're finding people. Okay, I'm going to keep mine really simple, and I'm going to just hit the apply button here, and then I'm going to start scrolling. I now see trainers, 7,000 still, 8,000 almost, trainers in Providence that are, oh, here's one that's career. So Courtney is a certified career development professional, event planner, and trainer. That would be a nice person for me to connect with. So there's different ways in which you can do this. Some of you will say, oh, let me just try connecting directly with her. I don't always like to do that because some people like to only connect with people they know. So here's what I do. I go down to the highlights box. If and only if I'm connected to someone, they'll have a highlights box. And in this case, Courtney and I are connected in 8 groups. I'm going to go back up here and grab her name. I'm just going to do a Control-C to copy it. If I go into a group, for example, the National Career Development Association, I can now see all members. I want to see if you can see where I'm at. I'm in the upper right-hand corner, and I'm clicking the button See All. See all 19,000 members. They're not in alphabetical order. So now I paste Courtney's name. Magic button pops up. I'm a second level connection. I'm not asking her to connect with me. I'm merely sending her a message. Hi, Courtney. I can see that we're both in Providence and we're both involved in career development, as well as being members of the NCDA. I would love the opportunity to chat with you a little bit more about your work and have an opportunity to share best practices. And then I could leave my contact information. If you're not sure, how do I ask? What do I say? Go back to my LinkedIn page and click on sample request for an informational interview. This will give you some guidance. So will the Northeastern Career Development page. Michelle, if you can pop up Northeastern Career Development's homepage, or Katie, if you can do that, that'd be fantastic so people can bookmark that. So you need the how to ask or sample questions, you'll find them in there. I do apologize that my ending was a tiny bit rushed. I always have more to say than I have time for. And I went a little bit more in depth into one of the topics about posting. So, whoop, I'm sorry, let me escape this. I want to go to this last slide and just give you a recap. And again, we're going to invite you to join us for a 10-minute session afterwards. But let me just say, if I were to be able to give you a quick homework assignment, it'd be customize your header, edit and update that summary about section, add those featured media links, participate in groups, and maybe consider doing a micro Ask Info interview. You're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. Just send me an invite. I have one special request. Please don't ask me to preview your profile, your LinkedIn profile. You gotta get that from somebody else. But do ask me when you're stuck with navigation or you want to ask a question about functionality with LinkedIn or other quick questions. Please do ask me. Don't be shy with those. And Michelle, I'll leave the slide up, but let me just let you jump back in with us, and we're going to take any last questions for a minute or two, and then we're going to have people bow out that don't want to join for the small group breakout. This is just an optional 10 minutes to share with your colleagues. Sorry, your fellow alumni. So turning it back over to Michelle.
Great, Sabrina, thank you so much. I wish we had another half an hour, but you've given us a lot to work with. I'm going to guess that most of us heard some new things today that we can try and implement with our own profiles and our own activity on LinkedIn. So thank you for prioritizing some of that for us and for some of this really great information. So we're going to stop, but then invite, so people can leave, but then we're inviting people who might want to do a 10-minute breakout to focus on the action they're going to take on LinkedIn. You can stay on, and we're going to do breakout groups for 10 minutes. Thank you all for coming.
So we're going to pause and allow people to exit.